I had meticulously planned every detail to celebrate our 20th wedding anniversary. A heartfelt dinner, decorations that reflected our journey together, and the hope of rekindling the love we once shared. But as I stood there, excitement coursing through my veins, my husband stormed in, his face a mask of anger. "What is this?" he shouted, dismissing my efforts as if they were nothing. The warmth I had built around our celebration shattered in an instant when he threw divorce papers at me, the cold reality of his words cutting deeper than any blade. "I'm taking our son and leaving you," he spat, and in that moment, I felt the ground beneath me crumble. Alone and in shock, I felt a fire ignite within me, a desire for revenge that would change everything. Little did he know, the tables would soon turn, and he would find himself on the road, stripped of the life he thought he could control. I sit here in my modest apartment in Dallas, Texas, surrounded by the remnants of a life I once dreamed of. It's funny how life can change so quickly. One moment, you're full of hope and ambition, and the next, you're left picking up the pieces of your shattered dreams. My name is Megan, and this is the story of how I learned to reclaim my life. I was raised by my father after my mother passed away when I was just a child. He was my rock, my everything. I remember sitting on his knee as he read me bedtime stories, always emphasizing the importance of education. "You can achieve anything if you just work hard, Megan," he would tell me, his eyes shining with belief. He saved every penny he could to fund my college dreams, and for that, I am forever grateful. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. When I was in my late teens, tragedy struck. My father passed away unexpectedly, leaving me alone in a world that felt overwhelmingly empty. I had to drop out of college, and suddenly, my dreams felt so far away. I remember staring at the stack of bills piling up on my kitchen table, wondering how I would make ends meet. I felt like I was drowning, struggling to keep my head above water. It was during this tumultuous time that I met Kevin. He was a charming fellow student in his late 20s, with a smile that could light up a room. We quickly fell in love, and I felt a flicker of hope reignite within me. We married not long after, and I thought I had finally found my partner in life. But as time went on, I began to realize that the love we shared came with a price. To support Kevin through his studies, I took on 2 jobs. By day, I worked as a hotel cashier, greeting guests with a smile while my heart ached inside. By night, I donned an apron as a waitress, serving greasy burgers and cold coffee to tired travelers. I was exhausted, but I kept pushing forward, fueled by the promise Kevin had made. Once he graduated and found a good job, it would be my turn to chase my dreams. But things didn't turn out as I had hoped. Kevin graduated, but instead of supporting me, he became more demanding. "Megan, when will dinner be ready?" he would ask, his tone sharp. "I can't eat this fast food crap anymore." His requests turned into commands, and I found myself juggling housework along with my jobs, feeling like I was losing my identity. I longed for the day I could return to school, but Kevin dismissed the idea outright. "We can't afford it, Megan. Every penny counts," he would say, leaving no room for discussion. My dreams of a career in investment management slowly faded into the background, overshadowed by the responsibilities of being a wife and provider. Not long after, I became pregnant with our son, Ryan. While I was overjoyed at the prospect of becoming a mother, I also felt a sense of dread. How would I ever manage to raise a child and work 2 jobs? But I was determined to give Ryan everything I had, just as my father had done for me. Yet, Kevin's parents, who never approved of me, started to influence Ryan's upbringing. They treated me with disdain and pushed Ryan to do the same. As Ryan grew into his teenage years, he began to adopt Kevin's dismissive attitude. "Mom, why do you always have to embarrass me?" he would say, rolling his eyes as if I were the most ridiculous person in the world. I felt my heart shatter a little more each time, and I was left questioning my worth as a mother. Despite the turmoil, I tried to be the best mom I could be. I wanted Ryan to know love and support, but as I watched him distance himself from me, I realized that my efforts were being undermined. Kevin had succeeded in creating a wedge between us. The loneliness I felt was unbearable, but I kept hoping that things would improve. Then came our wedding anniversary, a day I had looked forward to for weeks. I planned a small celebration, hoping to rekindle our family bond. I decorated our living room with balloons and baked Kevin's favorite cake. But when he came home, his expression soured as he took in the scene. "What's all this?" he sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. "You think this is going to fix everything?" My heart sank. "I just wanted to celebrate us, Kevin. I thought we could." "Celebrate? You've done nothing but hold me back, Megan. This is pointless." He paused, his eyes narrowing. "In fact, I'm done." Before I could react, he threw divorce papers at me. "I'm leaving. I'm taking Ryan with me." I felt the world tilt beneath my feet. "You can't do this." I cried out, desperate and broken. But the look in his eyes told me everything I needed to know. The man I had devoted my life to was now my greatest enemy. As he walked out, taking Ryan with him, I realized that I had hit rock bottom. But in that moment of despair, a flicker of determination ignited within me. I may have lost my family, but I would not lose myself. I vowed to reclaim my life, no matter what it took. I stood there, alone in the silence of our once happy home, and made a promise to myself. I would rise from the ashes of my betrayal and reclaim my dreams. The journey ahead would be tough, but I was ready to fight for my future. After Kevin walked out, taking Ryan with him, my world shattered. I stood alone in the silence of our once happy home, the divorce papers crumpled in my hands. I felt lost and heartbroken, but deep inside, a spark ignited. I knew I had to reclaim my life, and that meant going back to school to finish the degree I had always wanted. I spent the next few weeks in a fog, trying to process everything that had happened. The loneliness was overwhelming. I would sit on the couch, staring at the walls, my mind racing with thoughts of what could have been. But every time I felt myself slipping into despair, I would remind myself of my father's words. "You can achieve anything if you just work hard, Megan." It became my mantra. Determined, I enrolled in a local community college. It wasn't easy. I had to juggle my studies with my job as a hotel cashier, but I was fueled by the desire to prove to myself that I could rise above my circumstances. Each class felt like a step toward reclaiming my identity. I immersed myself in the coursework, rediscovering the passion I had for finance and investment management. The first day of classes was nerve-wracking. I walked into the lecture hall, my heart racing. As I took a seat, I scanned the room, noticing students much younger than me. Doubts crept in. What am I doing here? I'm just a dropout, I thought. But then I remembered the promise I made to myself. I was not just there for an education. I was there to reclaim my life. I met Jennifer, a fellow student who quickly became my study partner. She was enthusiastic and kind, and her support helped me navigate the challenges of returning to school. "You've got this, Megan. Just think of how far you've come," she would say, encouraging me during late-night study sessions. Her words lifted my spirits and motivated me to push forward. The coursework was challenging, but I thrived on the pressure. I found myself staying late at the library, poring over financial models and investment theories. The more I learned, the more I realized how passionate I was about the field. I could see a future unfolding before me, a future where I would be successful, independent, and fulfilled. As the months passed, I made significant progress in my studies. I earned good grades and began to build a sense of confidence I hadn't felt in years. Each success was a reminder that I was capable of more than I had ever believed. However, amidst my academic achievements, thoughts of Ryan weighed heavily on my heart. I missed him terribly, but I also recognized that I couldn't let my past define me. I had to focus on my future. One evening, as I was studying for an upcoming exam, I received a text from Ryan. It was brief. "Mom, can we talk?" My heart raced. I hadn't heard from him since Kevin took him away. I quickly replied, agreeing to meet at a nearby cafe. When I arrived, I saw him sitting at a table, staring into his coffee cup. He looked older, weighed down by the pressures of teenage life. I approached cautiously. "Hi, Ryan," I said, forcing a smile. He looked up, his expression a mixture of resentment and confusion. "Hey, Mom," he replied, avoiding my gaze. "I've been thinking about everything." "I miss you so much," I said, my voice trembling. "I want to be there for you, no matter what," he sighed, running his fingers through his hair. "It's just things are different now. Dad says I should focus on my future, and I don't know what to think about you anymore." I felt a pang in my chest. "I understand, Ryan. I know things have changed, but I want you to know that I'm here for you, always. I'm working hard to create a better life for us both." Ryan looked at me, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of the little boy who used to look up to me. "You're going back to school, right?" he asked hesitantly. "Yes, I am. I want to finish my degree in investment management. It's something I've always wanted to do," I replied, hoping to bridge the gap between us. He nodded, a slight frown creasing his forehead. "I guess that's cool. I just hope you're not trying to prove something to Dad." "No, Ryan, this is for me," I said firmly. "I want to show you that you can achieve your dreams, no matter what challenges life throws at you." The conversation was far from perfect, but it was a start. I could see Ryan was still influenced by Kevin, but I held on a hope. I would keep working on rebuilding our relationship, no matter how long it took. As I continued my studies, I found peace in the knowledge that I was taking control of my life. I graduated with honors, and the day I received my diploma was one of the proudest moments of my life. The applause from my classmates felt like a symphony of validation, a clear message that I was capable of achieving my dreams. Soon after graduation, I began applying for jobs in finance, filled with a newfound sense of determination. Little did I know that fate had a surprise in store for me, one that would change everything. After graduating with honors, I felt a rush of excitement and determination coursing through me. It was time to step into the professional world I had always dreamed of, a world where I could finally put my education to use and prove my worth. I began applying for jobs in finance, pouring my heart into each application. I felt like I was stepping into uncharted territory, but for the first time in years, I was optimistic about the future. Weeks turned into months as I sent out countless resumes and attended interviews. I faced rejections and moments of self-doubt, but I held on to the belief that I was meant for something greater. Then one afternoon, while scrolling through job listings, I stumbled upon an opening that made my heart skip a beat, a department head position at a well-respected investment firm. I spent hours preparing for the interview, researching the company and practicing my responses. As the day approached, I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. This was my chance to prove not only to myself but also to everyone who had doubted me. On the day of the interview, I arrived early, dressed in a tailored suit that made me feel confident and empowered. I walked into the building, taking a deep breath to steady my nerves. The waiting area was filled with professionals, each one seemingly more qualified than the last. I reminded myself that I belonged there, that I had earned this opportunity through hard work and perseverance. When my name was called, I entered the conference room, where a panel of 3 interviewers sat waiting. I introduced myself, trying to project confidence even though my heart raced. The questions began, and I answered each one with passion and clarity. I spoke about my vision for the department and my commitment to excellence. As the interview progressed, I could see their interest growing, and it fueled my determination. After what felt like an eternity, the interview concluded, and I walked out feeling invigorated. I had given it my all. A few days later, I received a call from the firm. "Congratulations, Megan. We'd like to offer you the position," the voice on the other end said. I could hardly believe it. I was thrilled and terrified all at once. Starting my new job felt like stepping into a dream. I was finally in the world of finance, surrounded by bright minds and exciting projects. My team welcomed me warmly, and I quickly dove into the work. I found fulfillment in leading my department and making a real impact. But as I began to settle into my new role, a familiar shadow crept into my life. Kevin. I hadn't seen him since the divorce, but news of my success spread quickly. One afternoon, as I was walking through the office, I spotted him in the hallway. He looked disheveled and worn, a stark contrast to the man I had once known. "Megan," he called out, his tone mixed with disbelief and frustration. I see you've managed to climb the ladder after all. I paused, my heart racing. Kevin, what are you doing here? I asked, trying to keep my composure. I heard you got the job I wanted, he said, his voice low. You don't deserve it, you know. His words struck me like a slap. I worked hard for this, Kevin. You didn't believe in me, but I proved myself, I replied, my voice steady. He scoffed, crossing his arms. You think you can just take everything away from me? Ryan doesn't want to see you. He's happier without you. My heart sank at the mention of Ryan. I'm still his mother. I want to be part of his life, I said, desperately trying to reach him. Stay away from him, Kevin warned, his tone cold and threatening. You're not the woman I married. You're just a dropout trying to make a name for yourself. In that moment, I felt a wave of anger and sadness wash over me. I'm not that woman anymore, Kevin. I'm stronger than you think. I will not let you dictate my life or my relationship with Ryan. With that, I turned and walked away, my heart pounding. I knew the confrontation had stirred up old wounds, but I also felt empowered. I had come so far, and I wasn't going to let Kevin's bitterness hold me back. Despite the tension with Kevin, I threw myself into my work, focusing on my goals and the people I worked with. My team thrived under my leadership, and I began to earn respect in the industry. I was creating a name for myself, a stark contrast to the woman who once felt invisible in her own home. As weeks passed, I received an unexpected message from Ryan. He wanted to meet. My heart raced with hope and trepidation. Maybe, just maybe, we could start to mend our fractured relationship. After weeks of silence, Ryan's message asking to meet filled me with a mix of hope and anxiety. I hadn't seen him since Kevin took him away, and the thought of facing my son stirred up a whirlwind of emotions. What if he blamed me for everything? What if he didn't want to see me? Despite the fear, I knew I had to try. We agreed to meet at a cafe I used to visit with Ryan when he was younger. As I walked into the familiar place, the aroma of coffee filled the air, bringing back memories of simpler times. I spotted Ryan sitting at a table, his face buried in his phone. He looked older, more serious, and my heart ached at the sight of him. Hi, Ryan, I said softly as I approached. He looked up, surprise flickering across his face before he quickly masked it with indifference. Hey, Mom, he replied, his voice quiet. I could feel the tension hanging between us, a wall built from years of hurt and misunderstanding. Thanks for meeting me, I said, taking a seat. I've missed you. Yeah, I guess, he mumbled, still avoiding eye contact. I knew the road to reconciliation would be long and bumpy, but I was willing to fight for it. I know things have been rough between us. I started, searching for the right words. But I want you to know that I'm here for you. I'm trying to be a better person and a better mom. He finally looked up, uncertainty clouding his eyes. Dad says you're just trying to make yourself look good. You don't really care about us. His words stung. That's not true, Ryan. I care about you more than anything. I've worked hard to build a life I can be proud of, one that you can be proud of too. I don't know if I believe you, he said, crossing his arms defensively. You left us. I didn't leave you, Ryan. Your dad made that choice for us, I explained, my voice trembling with emotion. But I promise you, I'm here now, and I want to be involved in your life again. Silence fell between us, heavy and uncomfortable. Finally, he sighed, running his fingers through his hair. I just don't know if I can trust you, he admitted. Things are different now. I understand, I replied gently, but I'm willing to fight for that trust. I'm not the same person I was before. I've changed, and I'm still changing. Ryan shifted in his seat, and I could see the conflict in his expression. Dad talks about you a lot. He says you're just using your job to show him up. That's not my intention, I said earnestly. I want to show you that you can achieve your dreams, no matter the obstacles. I've worked hard to get to where I am now, and I want to help you find your own path. He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw a glimmer of hope. Okay, he said hesitantly. Maybe we can start with lunch next week. Just the two of us. A wave of relief washed over me. I'd love that. Thank you, Ryan. As we continued to talk, the tension began to lift. I shared stories about my new job and my challenges in returning to school, while he slowly opened up about his interests and struggles. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. I realized that while the road ahead would be challenging, this was the beginning of a new chapter for us both. Later that evening, I reflected on our conversation. I felt a sense of peace settling within me. I had faced my past, confronted my fears, and was working to rebuild my relationship with Ryan. The scars from my marriage to Kevin would linger, but they no longer defined me. I had reclaimed my life, found my voice, and discovered my worth. I continued to excel at work, earning respect from my colleagues and carving out a space for myself in the finance world. And with every step forward, I was proving to myself and to Ryan that I was capable of so much more than anyone had ever believed.